Have to tell me twice. Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse with Grindberg and Bigz. It's the Week 7 weekend warm-up, and apparently we have breaking news. Devonta Adams fell out of a building. What?
Yeah, man. You didn't see that? Fell out.
I just now saw it in the show notes. Devonta Adams Fallout. Oh. Devonta Adams fallout, like from the trade.
No, yeah, he didn't fall out of a plane or a building or anything like that. He fell off the Raiders lineup and he found himself onto the Jets lineup.
Got it. Okay. I totally read I read the show notes wrong.
I'm sorry.
I thought it was breaking news. Devonta Adams fell out of a bit. Oh, okay. Well, that makes more sense because he did get traded. Yeah, we're here. We're gonna talk about some of the latest news. We're gonna give you some stock up, stock down in Dynasty, and our studs and duds from last week, who we told you to start and sit, and how we did with that. And then give you starts and sits for this week too. So, with that, let's go to Grindberg with the news.
And then our biggest news story of the day is that I don't know if you noticed, but we don't have Schultz here with us. He's playing with his big dangus right now.
He's playing with his dingus.
Are playing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. He sends his apologies, his regards to us that he can't be here today. He wanted to brag about his about his start and sits, but we weren't too sure we would let him, so we let him have his dangus.
Yeah, and that's a pretty big. That's like a 6 foot long dingus too, give or take.
All right then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got some injury news to update here, and I'm just going to speed through it. Marvin Harrison Jr. in concussion protocol. It sounds like, there's a good chance he might miss this game. There's a 40% chance he could suit up based off of data and previous data raised upon by concussion protocol. So looking iffy for him to play. Anthony Richardson still recovering from that shoulder injury, and it sounds like he's going to make his return this week. Should bolster that Colts run offense. They've been without Jonathan Taylor, stock down potentially for guys like Michael Pittman with the Anthony Richardson situation. I still love Josh Downs headed into the latter stretch of this season. Christian McCaffrey dealing with that calf injury is aiming for that week 8 return potential, that's when he's going to return to practice, it says, but he could be back, within the next couple weeks. This is a buy low window. It's closing fast for those that are looking to make their stretch. If they're 5-1 headed into this week and you're a dynasty team looking to buy, I think Christian McCaffrey is ripe for the picking. This is one I want to get your opinion on here, Bigz, after I, just introduced the Nick Chubb. Looks like he's going to be back this week after that knee injury that let him, sit on the bench and in on our fantasy bench for almost a full year here. Looks like he could be playing, and Jerome Ford is out. So the Nick Chubb show, they are looking for something to be thankful for in Cleveland, and potentially Nick Chubb could be that reason. So love the story here. How effective do you think he could be right out of the gate, Bigz?
Why would you even ask me that question? Like, that's such a hard question. How do I think that somebody is going to respond after suffering another catastrophic leg injury and having a very short rehab season and coming back? And how are they going to be on a pretty terrible team? I'm not very optimistic about Nick Chubb. That's a terrible question, Mike.
But it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful
honestly,
story. Yeah.
Great for him. And I mean, like, he has been in his career, he's been an elite running back. But I remember every single time I've put my faith in him, and the 2 times that he has suffered catastrophic leg injuries. Now he's trying to come back again, 5 or 6 years on. I just I can't, especially in Dynasty, unless I had him already and I've stashed him. I'm not targeting him. I'm not going after him anywhere. I'm not making any moves for him. If he's on the waiver wire, take a chance. But there's no need to give up any assets for him. If he has any modicum of success coming back, it's not going to last very long. He's long past the running back window as far as age, as far as you know his injury concerns, as far as what potentially could come in the future. Like he's still Nick Chubb. He's still that name. If you've got him, dangle him out there, see what you can get for him, especially if he comes back and has, a top 24 game. Get rid of him. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
I wonder if Dangus is dangling anything in front of Schulte right now. But let's move on to Dearness Johnson, who
I don't think that's appropriate, Mike.
What are you talking about?
Is Dangus being dangled in front of Schulte? I don't know. But is Dangus dangling anything? That's different. That's a different, whole nother question. It's a different animal altogether.
Like a Chick-fil-A, there could be a lot of things. Anyhow, Dearness Johnson was waiver wire darling this week, but it looks like he's going to have to take a back seat because it looks like Travis Etienne is going to actually play after being removed in last week's game with that hamstring issue. But looking like he might play this week. But Tank Bigsby emerging, but still didn't get the important passing down work when Etienne was gone. Dearness Johnson earned all that. What's your make on this Jacksonville Jaguars running back room, Bigz?
I feel like with Dearness Johnson's usage last week, and we talked about this over on Fantasy Sports Advice Network, which you can find if you go to dot cards. That's the word dot plus period cards /Big Boned FFB. Go ahead and go to there, and you'll find all of our links to all of our stuff, including the Fantasy Football Advice Network shows on YouTube that we do. And, the undroppables, where this show goes, Raiders Uncovered, my Twitter handle, my Venmo if you want to send me some money, all that stuff. My phone number if you want to text me, ask me a start or sit question, whatever. Dot cards /Big Boned FFB. Anyway, on our Fantasy Sports Advice Network show, we were talking with Schulte about Dearness Johnson's usage, and what it showed to me I didn't watch the game. I just heard it from Schulte's mouth, who's a Jaguars fan, and that carries a lot of weight with me. And the way he put it, it really made me think that Tank Bigsby's role is locked. Because it didn't change. It didn't matter if it was Etienne. It didn't matter if it was Dearness Johnson. I almost said DEJ because that's what the cool people say. It didn't matter if it was Dearness Johnson or Travis Etienne. Tank Bigsby did the exact same thing that he did before, which means that Travis Etienne coming back is going to be doing exactly the same thing that Travis Etienne did before. It's not going to change, and Travis Etienne still has that upside to break out your 20, 30, and 40-yard runs, of which he's been a leader in the NFL in the last 3 years. He's going to continue to do it. And if he's healthy enough to be on the field, he's healthy enough for you to start him.
Yeah. And what about recovering from that thigh injury? He should return this week. And you have him as a start of the week on one of our other shows there, Bigz. I love the upside here with Brian Robinson, and stop slurping, man. It's hurting my fucking ears, dude.
I was doing it for the content, but then the rum really started burning the back of my throat.
Good, because it burnt the back of my ears, and probably our viewers as well. All right, let's talk about Brian Robinson. I love him. He's been a really bright spot this year, adding a really good dimension to that Commanders offense. He had a good last year, but really coming into his own. He missed last week, obviously, with that injury, but looks like he's back, and I think he's in a smash spot. You obviously are really high on him. Tell everybody a little bit why and what you see from that offense moving forward.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Let's hear it.
What team allows the most fantasy points to running backs this year?
I don't know. Whoever they're playing this week.
The Carolina Panthers. Exactly. And who is Brian Robinson playing this week?
The Carolina Panthers.
Yes, exactly. The Carolina Panthers. 28.3 points per game allowed to running backs. Brian Robinson has the best matchup of the week. He's a smash. Love him this week.
Yeah, I love that. I love that offense in general, man. I think just this Commanders team is becoming like a team that I just really are rooting for. It's a team that just is really getting under, a lot of people's good books here with the amount of optimism there has been. They've suffered a lot of years of dreadful football, and now they got a supreme quarterback, an elite quarterback, it looks like, and the future is bright there in Washington.
Would you go as far as to say the best offensive coordinator in all the NFL? Me neither.
No.
Sorry, Cliff. You're the second best KK of offensive coordinators. Yeah, it's a great story. Love Jaden Daniels, love Brian Robinson, love the emergence of Terry McLaurin. Finally, and getting out from under the Dan Snyder debacle umbrella. You just got to love it. And especially, I mean, let's face it, all of us out here who do articles, tweets, podcasts, video stuff in the fantasy football space, we owe it all to Matthew Berry, and he's the ultimate Commanders fan. So I'm just happy for him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. What about the Packers? They're
from Green Bay. And what's cool about that is that the Green Bay Packers are publicly owned. So they sell shares to their fans. So anybody who is a Green Bay Packers shareholder can walk around and say, I'm an owner of the Packers. Kind of like the Davis Food Co-op where I shop for groceries. I'm part owner. So that's about the Green Bay Packers. And I just picked up Paulson Adebo the other day, cornerback for the New Orleans Saints. And last night, right now, he is being put onto a cart. Shout out Paulson Adebo.
Mm-hmm.
I hardly knew ye. Anyway, what about the Green Bay Packers?
Well, they've got a bunch of kind of banged up wide receivers. It looks like they're all maybe going to play. You got Christian Watson, who just came back last week, but he's still not 100%. Dontavian Wicks dealing with an AC sprain. He could play. There is some doubt about his availability. Jaden Reed has that ankle injury. They all are looking like they should be playing this week. They're an explosive offense no matter who's in the lineup. Romeo Doubs last week, 2 touchdowns, proven he can be a game changer as well. So, this offense, we were optimistic about them moving into this season. Jordan Love sustained that injury. What's your take here? A lot of people thought that, Josh Jacobs would garner a lot more targets in that offense, and he hasn't lived up to any of those expectations. You weren't surprised about that, but your take on that offense in general? Who's the darling outside of Jaden Reed?
There isn't one. I've tried to dip my toe in, and it seems like every year there's a team like this. A couple years ago, it was the San Francisco 49ers. Last year, it was the Kansas City Chiefs, and you and I talked a lot about it. This year, it seems to be the Green Bay Packers. The common thread there is that they're good. They have a good quarterback, and they have a lot of different weapons, and not one of them clears, except for the one that you can kind of recognize is the ultimate talent on the field. You have Kelsey, you have Kittle, you have Jaden Reed. Other than that, it's kind of a crapshoot week to week. And we did shows like this, our weekend warm up over on another channel last year, that we've resurrected here on the Undroppables and Fantasy Football Plus. But on that previous show that we did, we were doing starts and sits and talking about this all year last year. And every week I said, I hate the Kansas City Chiefs because there's always going to be somebody different that leads that. And once you think that you have your finger on the pulse and you're going to throw this guy out there because he just had a good week, it's going to go to somebody else. I feel like that's part of the scheme. That's part of their system because they know that the opposite team, their opposing team is going to be watching tape of the big breakout game of George Kittle last week. So guess who's going to shine this week? Brandon Ayuk. Romeo Doubs had a huge week, so guess what? They're going to go to Christian Watson a lot this week. The thing about that is that you can never predict what's going to happen. So if you're in a position where you're just trying to figure out who of those three is going to be the one that gets you fantasy points, it's just a losing cause on your part because you're going to be wrong more times than you're right, and it's frustrating. Now, Jaden Reed is the only exception. We know that Jordan Love and Jaden Reed are going to produce fantasy magic like a competitive ballroom dance couple every week, and it's going to be great. But I've tried to buy in on Dontavian Wicks. He goes out and has a 30% catch rate. I tried to buy in on Christian Watson for symmetry. He goes out and gets hurt again. I tried to buy in on Romeo Doubs. He's got an attitude problem. And you just don't ever get what you want out of that team. So Jaden Reed or nothing for me. It's the Kansas City Chiefs all over again. And yeah.
Okay, give me some Tucker Kraft. I'm a big fan of Tucker Kraft.
I just bought it on Tucker Kraft last week, and guess what he did?
Oh, because he bought in on
nothing. Nothing.
I mean, yeah, like I gave the Tucker Kraft. I think with the landscape there, I just think there's opportunity for him. He's seeing
pick the week.
When?
Pick the week. You can't.
Okay.
Is he good?
Well, you can pick it's a solid floor for him. I think he'll get a good 5 to 6 targets every week, and it's just going to be good.
Let's check the data.
Okay, let's check it. Check away, Bigz. I'll let you.
I had a tight end problem. I had a tight end need, and I picked up Tucker Kraft.
Well, it's because you picked him up because he was the tight end 3 headed into last week, and he was bound to have a down game.
He got me 3.5 points, 1 carry, 2 yards, 2 out of 2 receptions and 4 targets for 13 yards, 3.5 points.
Yeah.
And you know what? That was a critical matchup.
Okay, it's a sour taste in your mouth. What did he do the week before?
I won. I don't know.
The week before, he had 5 targets and he went 4 for 88 and 2. What did he do the week before?
But I was playing Tommy Moe. I needed somebody to do better than 3.5 points.
Well, you know what?
I won the matchup, and I'm running away with the league, and it's fine. But come on. In my time of need, he got me 3.5 points. How can I rely on that moving forward? I can't.
Well,
I dropped him today.
Well, good for you. I'll pick him up.
Go ahead. What's he going to do? 3.5 more points?
No, he won't.
He'll score more than that? When?
He's going to finish as a top 10 tight end this year, guaranteed, and that's playable every single week. So you might have a down week.
You're guaranteeing it?
Yeah, man. What's he sitting at right now?
I don't know. I can't find him.
And he had Malik Willis throwing in the ball for 2 games, or not throwing the ball.
He's 5 and he's questionable.
Tight end 5, perfect.
He's had weeks of 5, 3, 4, 17, 24, 3. That's exactly my point. The reason he's tied in 5 is because he had 2 games where he scored 41 points. The other 3, he hasn't broken 12.
When they needed him. 1 wide receiver injury, and Tucker Kraft is back to a tight end 1. And We just talked about 3 wide receivers banged up on that team. 3 of them. So you think
Right.
Christian
And Tucker
Watson isn't
Kraft
going
is banged up too. My point is you have five games on that schedule. Is that 5 games
You said
or
there's no
6?
other reliable weapon outside
6
of
games.
Jaden Reed on that lineup. And I'm
Right,
saying that
right.
there's a top 10 tight end on that team.
That's not reliable. He's given you 2
Mm.
tight end 1 weeks and 4 outside of top 18,
Tell me any
including
other
3 that
tight
were
end.
top 28 or worse. So you can say he's tight end 5, but I can say in 2 weeks he's been tight end 1. In 4 weeks he's been tight end 30. How
And
is that reliable? That's 33% of the
at a
time he's
position
startable.
at a position.
66% of the time he's tight end 30.
33% of the time he won me my week. And what other tight
No,
end?
I know.
What other tight end can you say is doing that?
What I'm saying is,
wire.
I want a floor. I want a guy who's going to score 8 points per week, not a guy who's going to get 31 week, 18 another, and then for the rest of the time. It's the difference between anecdotal data and statistical reliance. You can't say he overall in the grand scheme of things.
I'm going to take the league winning week over a floor at the position coming from a
1
guy
week?
that screams at every 2 weeks. 2 weeks in a row he was a league winner. Back to back. As soon as Jordan Love came back, he went off in games where the Packers had a tighter game. Now they're going to be playing a lot more divisional opponents, and that division is good. They're going to need to throw the ball. And their wide receivers are banged up a lot of the time. I got a lot of stock in Tucker Kraft, so I'm going to defend him.
Right. And I don't have much because he's in a situation where there are a lot of mouths to feed. Yes, he has overtaken Luke Musgrave, but even when both of them were healthy and both of them were young and coming out, the Green Bay Packers still viewed Luke Musgrave as the superior talent. Because Luke Musgrave has been dealing with injuries from day 2 of his entire career, which is 2 years, Tucker Kraft has elevated. Okay, that's fine. But to say that anybody but Jaden Reed on that offense is somebody that you can rely upon when Tucker Kraft goes out there and he has 4 games this season with fewer than 8 points or
there's an anomaly, okay,
better than 18.
You got to take 2 games out of that. I'm talking about when he's with when he's with Jordan Love. So you take 3 games out of that. 2 out of 3 games with Jordan Love, he's a top 5 tight end.
Okay. And
actually 2 of those games he finished as the tight end 1 overall. The tight end 1.
Last year, week 12 he finished as tight end 11, 13 tight end 20, 14 tight end 12, 16 tight end 16, week 17 tight end 13, and week 18 tight end 20. That's 6 out of 7 weeks he finished tight end 11 or worse. That was with Jordan Love the whole time. So you take out those 3 games with Malik Willis, and he still has 66% of games that he's outside the top 11. I know it's a different year, and I know it's a different quarterback, but I'm talking about a consistent, reliable floor. Yes, he's going to spike. He's going to have huge games. He had almost a 30-point game the other day. But you take somebody like Brock Bowers, who is consistently getting 7 to 9 catches per week. Tucker Kraft isn't doing that.
I'm not comparing Tucker Kraft to Brock Bowers.
I'm using it as an example.
Yeah.
I like Tyler Conklin too. He's another guy that I've thrown out there because there's been a game where he spiked. There's been a couple for Tucker Kraft. I'm not doubting Tucker Kraft's talent. I'm just doubting the situation. There are too many mouths to feed in that offense, and it seems to me like that offense morphs to what worked before. We know the defense is going to focus on. So as soon as we see the defense start to take that away, we pivot. And the only player in that offense that doesn't cow to that is Jaden Reed. He's the guy that they can get in motion. He's the guy that they can hand off to. He's the guy that can get separation. He's the guy that is a crisp route runner. He's the guy that kind of overcomes all that. Everybody else in that offense, Romeo Doubs is talented. Christian Watson has talent. Tucker Kraft has talent. Dontavian Wicks, uber talented. He just has a problem dropping the ball. All of those guys are good pieces. Jaden Reed is the only reliable one. You know the analogy that I'm using with the Chiefs last year. To me, it's a very similar situation. You ride with Tucker Kraft. That's totally fine.
I like Tucker Kraft in close games, and I think the Packers are going to be in a lot of close games. In the games that they're tight and they need to use them, they're using them, and they're using them in the red zone. And give me the touchdown upside all day long. You talk about.
Do you remember last year when we were talking about like working together, like putting shows together or whatever? And I wanted to do one where we just argued with each other.
This was perfect. I love this. This is good. This is 10 minutes of us arguing. It's good.
We need less love and more adversarial relationship.
Okay, let's keep this show rolling here. Let's talk about Devonta Adams and that trade and the downfall of that and all the pieces that we have to pick up after that. You know, Aaron Rodgers,
thank God he didn't fall out of a window.
He didn't, and he didn't fall out of a plane. He didn't fall out of a car. He's alive.
Yeah.
And well, and looks like he's going to New York and playing with Aaron Rodgers again.
What?
We're not going. Yeah. We're not.
He was traded.
He was traded. Gone.
Devonta Adams was traded to the Jets. When did that happen?
Yeah, a couple days ago now.
What? How did I miss that?
I don't know. Well, Devonta Adams
in the show sheet.
Yeah. He was traded. He didn't fall out of a plane. He didn't fall out of anything. He got traded to the New York Jets. And what's your take? What's your take on the Jets offense now? Obviously they're bringing in a weapon here that is very familiar with the quarterback.
You know what? I love it for Garrett Wilson. I am reaching out to every Garrett Wilson owner in every Dynasty league that I have because I love the narrative that adding an alpha wide receiver in that wide receiver room hurts Garrett Wilson's value. I think it does exactly the opposite. I think it absolutely unlocks Garrett Wilson. The Jets haven't had a great pass catcher opposite Garrett Wilson for a while. And what has happened to Garrett Wilson? He's constantly double teamed. Not anymore, because now you have to worry about Garrett Wilson. Or now you have to worry about Devonta Adams. If you try and lock both of those guys down, now you have to worry about the running game opening up for Breece Hall. So now you start focusing on Breece Hall. That opens up the wide receiver game again to Garrett Wilson and Devonta Adams. It just creates such a matchup problem for defenses, and I love it for Garrett Wilson. Devonta Adams is going to do Devonta Adams things. 10 targets, 8 catches, 80 yards, possibly a touchdown. That's going to be his standard. But Garrett Wilson is going to do that consistently, finally.
That's it unless he gets traded.
Why would they trade Garrett Wilson?
Because they have Allen Lazard.
No. You know how much I love Allen Lazard, and I've been smashing him the last 3 weeks.
He's all the pieces
done.
Now in this puzzle.
He's done.
I don't know. Aaron Rodgers loves Allen Lazard. He's got maybe they might even bring Randall Cobb back. You'll see it all happen here. It's going to unfold the way.
Come on, James Jones, come out of retirement. We miss you, buddy.
No, we're going to have a trade. Mercedes Lewis will now be a New York Jet. It's all going to happen, and Aaron Rodgers is going to bring back the Wolf Pack, and it's all going to go down. No,
I love it for both Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall.
I like it a lot for Breece Hall, and I understand what you're saying about them opening up the game for Garrett Wilson. He's seen double teams his whole career. Now he's going to be able to get open a lot more, and he should be eating. he's not going to get 22 targets a game anymore, but he's not going to need it to be effective. I figure either.
He only did that once anyway, and it was 23, Mike. Come on. Do your research.
All right. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good situation here. Now tell us about your Raiders and how that affects them. Obviously, this is a big situation here for Brock Bowers. He's going to continue to be the rookie target monster, and I have a good feeling he's going to finish as the tight end one at the end of this year. But other than Brock Bowers, who does this benefit in that offense? And do you see this offense, improving at all here?
I don't see them improving at all. I do see with Zamir White getting healthy. I've talked about this on other shows plenty of times. When you have a balance of wide receiver or passing game targets and competent running backs with a quarterback who can throw the ball deep and keep the defense honest, it just opens, fantasy wise, it opens up everything for the whole team. I've mentioned on shows, we saw it in 2023 with the Raiders, 2022 with the Raiders. When Josh Jacobs led the NFL in rushing yards in 2022, coming into the 2023 season, a lot of people kind of like put their stock in Jacobs and expected that to happen once again. But the big difference was that Derek Carr was gone. Now Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, and he's a noodle arm quarterback that can't throw the ball deep. So what happens? The Raiders come up and they see stacked boxes constantly because teams aren't scared of Jimmy Garoppolo, and they're stacking the box because they're like, if we're going to get beat, we're going to let Jimmy Garoppolo beat us, and that can't happen. A similar thing happened this year. Zamir White with Aiden O'Connell as the quarterback who can get the ball deep, who doesn't turn the ball over, etc. Zamir White had a fantastic 4 games to finish the season last year. That was his audition. He comes out, he's he's the go-to guy this year. Well, suddenly you have a quarterback change. It's Gardner Minshew, not Aiden O'Connell. Gardner Minshew, teams aren't scared of him. They're challenging him to beat them down the field, and he could not do it, except for somehow, inexplicably, he did it to the Baltimore Ravens. But other than that, he couldn't do it. So guess what? Zamir White sees stacked boxes. Alexander Mattison is inefficient. When Aiden O'Connell gets out there, and once they start getting this offense off the ground, and he can start hitting Jacoby Myers and hitting Brock Bowers to move the ball downfield and then take deep shots for Trey Tucker, the defense is going to be on their heels a little bit. That's going to open up some space for Zamir White. Does Devonta Adams leaving change that? No. That's still something that, regardless of whether they were going to have Adams or not, that's something that should be coming over the second half of the season for the Raiders. The biggest difference is there's nobody to focus on in the Raiders offense at the receiving positions besides Brock Bowers. That's going to limit Brock Bowers' upside. He's not going to jump from 10 targets a game to 15 and jump from 8 catches a game to 9, 10, 11, 12. But it is going to open up some space for Jacoby Myers. I see Jacoby Myers being the biggest beneficiary of this. If you look last year, Jacoby Myers running out of the slot position, not the X, like Devonta Adams, but out of the slot, finished with over 1,100 air yards and 8 touchdowns, which was a career high. He had a really, really good year. I feel like going for rest of the season, Jacoby Myers is going to be used as a flanker receiver with Trey Tucker in line as kind of the deep threat, and Jacoby Myers moving around in formations along the same lines as Brock Bowers moving out of the slot, because that's what Jacoby Myers is best at. Think of Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin was playing outside last year. Wasn't that great? A couple years. Wasn't that great? They move him to the slot. Suddenly he's a top 10 receiver. Jacoby Myers is a similar talent to Chris Godwin. And I feel like keeping Trey Tucker on the outside, utilizing other guys like Christian Wilkerson on the outside, and keeping Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers in slot positions, I think Jacoby Myers is rest of the season. I would expect that he repeats over the course of the last 11 games of the season. I feel like his numbers are going to approach what he did in a full season last year. So he's the one that's unlocked. Brock Bowers is going to be Brock Bowers. 7 to 9 catches a game, 80 to 90 yards, touchdown here and there. Tight end 1, but Jacoby Myers is really, Jacoby Myers and Zamir White are really the two guys who are going to have really good second halves for the Raiders.
All right, let's move on to the Amari Cooper situation. And Josh Allen was in need of a wide receiver after we saw, Stephon Diggs move on for, the Texans in the offseason. They struggled to find, their way. They thought they could maybe spread the ball out a little bit more this season, and it's just not looking like there is potent of an offense as they used to be. Now they bring in Amari Cooper, that outside threat wide receiver. I love the situation here for him. Hopefully, Josh Allen can get him the ball. Just look at, what Joe Flacco did to Amari Cooper at the latter end of last year, made him a top 10 wide receiver. And I'm expecting a lot of the same from Amari Cooper once he, gets in rhythm there. Maybe not game 1, maybe not game 2, but down the stretch here, I'm looking for Amari Cooper to bring some heat there. A different type of wide receiver than Stephon Diggs. So I'm expecting him to actually, produce in the latter half of the season when it gets cooled down there in Buffalo. So what are your thoughts on this trade and how it affects the Bills, and who gives a shit about the Browns?
I think it's a brilliant move for the Bills. I feel like this trade for the Bills is 100% indicative of the fact that that brain trust knows what they're doing. They saw what they had on the field. They saw that they have two fairly good slot receivers in Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel, and that Khalil Shakir is not the answer lining up on the outside. And Keon Coleman is not the answer as an X receiver. Now you stick Keon Coleman in the Y and you start making him run Alec Pierce, Xavier Worthy, Gabe Davis wind sprints up and down the side of the field, keeping the safeties back. That opens up the middle of the field for Khalil Shakir to do work. And then you have somebody who is a good separator, maybe not the best hands in the world in Amari Cooper, but he knows what he's doing on the outside as an X. They knew trying Keon Coleman in that role, this is not working out. We need to do something. They identified that Amari Cooper would be that piece that unlocks them. We've seen Josh Allen, who's like the consensus QB1 in fantasy, struggle this whole year to kind of keep that up. And somehow he's still like maintained above the fray. Hasn't been QB1, but he's still definitely in the top 10. I think this returns him to that QB1 level because of what he's going to be able to accomplish with his arm as well as his feet. It keeps the defense honest. They can't like play close to the line of scrimmage anymore because Keon Coleman provides that deep threat. Even if he's not catching the ball, they still have to like account for him and keep them honest. Khalil Shakir is elite, working the middle of the field, and then you have Amari Cooper running his route tree on the outside. I think it unlocks the Bills' defense. I think they make a deep playoff run. I think they challenge Kansas City late. I wouldn't have said that 2 weeks ago, but I say that now. As far as the Browns, I have zero faith in Jerry Jeudy. I tried to go into the preseason, especially on the player profiler draft guide, trying to talk up Elijah Moore. Didn't really work. I see Cedric Tillman as like their Keon Coleman role. I think Elijah Moore gets a little boost. I think that Jerry Jeudy might get a little boost in terms of target share. David Njoku gets a little boost. I think all of these offenses that we're talking about, the Bills, the Browns, the Raiders, I think all of these are kind of similar in the way that they're deploying their receiving cores. And you can kind of see where each player kind of, and the Jets too. You can kind of see where each player kind of fits into those different roles. We see it in New England too with Demario Douglas and then guys on the outside. We see it with the Giants and Malik Neighbors on the outside and Wan'Dale Robinson running. Like we see how it works in the NFL, and we can see as in a chess game, the Buffalo Bills making the correct decisions to put those players in place. With the Browns, I think, again, it opens up things for Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, and David Njoku.
Yeah, totally. I think this is a great analysis. Other than the fact that I think You talked about the Bills now, maybe making a strong run at the Chiefs. I think that's going to be a tough one for them to do, especially since seeing how the Ravens are playing right now. Honestly, the way the Ravens are playing and what they've done, I have them pegged as the favorite in the AFC right now. Even though my Chiefs are 5-0, I have not seen anything from them at this stage other than their formidable defense that could challenge the Ravens at this stage. So we'll have to see how the Bills gel, but the Bills are climbing from behind right now. Both the Chiefs and the Ravens are ahead of them now in the standings, and will probably garner a home playoff game. But yeah, the Bills needed to make this move big time in order to stay pace. So yeah, I do like what you said there. They that brings them back in the Super Bowl contention conversation. But now the Jets also bring in some talent as well. So that game was a pivotal game, that Monday nighter, and the Bills needed to win that one, made a big move, and I'm really excited to see how this AFC shakes up now.
Yeah, and let's revisit this discussion when the Raiders trade for T. Higgins.
I would love to see T. Higgins in,
If T.
Chargers,
Higgins doesn't get
maybe.
traded this in season, he's going to be
Yeah.
a Raider next year,
Oh, you think
guaranteed.
so?
I think
There's
so.
a couple. There's like, where else needs a wide receiver one? How about the Patriots? Could you imagine the Patriots? They have
Right.
they have a rookie on a contract. They could spend the money, right?
The big boon for the Raiders moving off of Devonte Adams is they just opened up $20+ million to go sign a T. Higgins. If
Yeah.
you want to start talking about free agent wide receivers, and who better than me right now, who decided on this last Sunday, it's Raiders offseason talk now. I'm scouting free agents and draft picks and it's week 7. So that'll tell you where the Raiders are at. T. Higgins is the premier wide receiver, and the Raiders will have the most money to throw at him. T. Higgins is in silver and black in 2025. You heard it here first.
You heard it from Bigz. Let's go. All right, let's get into stock up, stock down, and then we'll do our
Let's
starts
go.
and sits, and then we'll get the hell out of here because we
Stock
got another
up, stock
big
down.
show. Who's your stock up, Bigz?
Stock up. I just talked about it. Garrett Wilson. He's
Yeah.
unlocked. No more double teams. We use this segment as stock up, stock down, with the idea that stock up is guys that you want to hold or dangle for as much as you can. I say Garrett Wilson is a hold. We use stock down as those are guys that you want to target or move off of. And for this one, I'm gonna go with move off of. But who's your stock up?
My stock up is none other than Drake Maye. Fuck that. That was
Yeah.
a great debut. We love his rushing upside. He's like mini Josh Allen in the making here. He just needs the weapons around him. You talked about Josh Allen getting his Amari Cooper. Well, I'm hoping that T. Higgins is a New England Patriot this offseason because I could see him really benefiting that lineup a lot. They need an X wide receiver.
Why do you hate the Raiders? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
fine.
I fucking hate the Raiders, and I've been swearing a lot this day. So I'm just getting my mouth peppered out so that I can do a podcast with my son starting Saturday morning.
You need to cuss the shit out of that show.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, like honestly, Drake Maye is looked really good in his debut. I was hoping that they could let him percolate a little bit longer. That offensive line could be a problem for him in the future. Like I'm worried about his ability to stay healthy. I mean, he's not a veteran, so he doesn't see the formations happen as quickly as a guy like Jacoby Brissett would. But he's better for the offense. He's better for the long term, and I think these are valuable reps he gets. But Drake Maye on the rise. What a game he had, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in a team that I followed a long time because my dad was a Patriots fan, and that was all I heard for 20 plus years. So it'll be interesting to see what this next realm of quarterback will do for that franchise, and looked pretty good. What are your thoughts on Drake Maye?
Well, hopefully somebody more adept than me at video stuff can go back and find our show on Fantasy Sports Advice Network, where I am the first one in the industry to make the Josh Allen and Drake Maye connection and clip that so everybody out there knows that I'm the one that called it.
All right.
Sorry. I love Drake Maye, and in other shows that we've done, I made the connection. I brought up the fact that Drake Maye in college as a sophomore outplayed NFL Josh Allen with very similar numbers and in fewer games. And I said in that show, of course, it's college versus NFL, and you can't do a one-for-one comparison, but that's the type of energy that Drake Maye brings to a team, is that Josh Allen upside. If you were to tell me in 3 or 4 years that Drake Maye was QB1 in fantasy, I would not be surprised at all, because before he even played a game, before the Patriots even played a game in his rookie season, I called that shit.
Congratulations, man.
Take a lap.
All right.
My stock down is going to be Keon Coleman. He's not a target. He's not stock down. He's a target. His career upside at this point has now become Gabe Davis, Christian Watson, Alec Pierce. Is he going to give you spike weeks? Perhaps. Is he going to be consistent? No. He's the Tucker Kraft of outside wide receivers. In comedy, we call that a callback.
Callback, because you're trying to, dig one on me. It's okay.
No, because I'm calling back to something that I previously said, which is it's an element of comedy.
Yeah, I call it a dig. Anyways, I'll bring it back.
It may have been,
but I got receipts, man. Don't worry, I'll remember this. And then here's my stock down, and it's no surprise. It's Kyler Murray. His stock is on the decline, and I'm trying to get rid of him. He was making a strong candidate to have a really good season, with Marvin Harrison Jr. coming in. I just think that he's just too short. He's having troubles, seeing over that offensive line. And when his rushing upside isn't there, he's not super valuable. And he's been outside of the top 12 numerous weeks in a row here. I think he's only cracked the top 12 once this season. So Kyler Murray is stock down, and I am not optimistic. I'm trying to get rid of him. Trying to sell some of his dynasty stock for some of the people that are still pretty high on him and think that he's a top 12 guy, because there's a lot of quarterbacks right now that are running hot and are showing a little bit more promise in my situation here.
So in 6 weeks, he has a QB1 finish and a QB5 finish, and 4 finishes outside QB15. Kyler Murray is the Tucker Kraft of quarterbacks.
There you go. That's why you're trying to get off of him. Because you don't.
Yeah. He's not reliable.
Not reliable. In a position where you need reliability, whereas, the tight end position.
Okay. I see how it works.
So
right.
For leveraging things here, I can leverage it in my own way as well. So let's move on, Bigz. Okay,
let's go to studs and duds. Schultze last week called start Chuba Hubbard, sit Mike Evans. How'd he do?
Did pretty damn good.
Chuba Hubbard was definitely a start. Mike Evans
could have had a touchdown, but he dropped it in the end zone. So definitely a hit there.
You can't really account for that. Last week, Mike Evans finished with that was week 5.
No, he was
5.4 two catches on 6 targets, 34 yards. Yeah, he could have benefited from that touchdown, giving him 11 points. I said start Tony Pollard. He finishes RB15. That's a hit. I said sit Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith. He had 2 catches for 19 yards, so that's a hit. I'm not going to count his 1 catch for a 45-yard touchdown, which jumped him into the top 24. I'm just going to say, hey, I said that he's limited as a slot receiver against a defense that limits the slot, I think it was the Cleveland Browns. And for the most part, he had 2 catches for 19 yards.
Yeah.
So I'm taking that's a C+ in my book.
C+. All right. I told everybody to start Chase Brown, who did pretty damn good. I mean, he didn't have a smash week, but he still got a touchdown, went 10 for 53, 2 for 11, but did get a second touchdown called back. So still a pretty good call. And then Devin Singletary didn't even play this week, so that was a wash. I told everybody
give
to sit
Grindberg his flowers, everybody.
I wish I had Zay Flowers. Wait, I did have Zay Flowers in a lot of my lineups last week, who went freaking crazy, in the first half anyhow. Let's get into our starts and sits this week, Bigz. What do we got?
All right. Well, my first start is Schultz's mom.
And my first
She's
start
number 1 in my book. No, my first start is Baker Mayfield. Let's look at the numbers this week. We got Baker Mayfield, and he is buffering. There it is. He's going up against the Baltimore Ravens defense, who allow 48 yards, more than average per week. So that's a good matchup on his part. And then when we dive a little bit deeper, we've got fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks, and Baker Mayfield is buffering. All right, and the stupid. I need a mouse. The Baltimore Ravens allow the second most points to opposing quarterbacks in fantasy, 23 points per week. My QB1 this week is Lamar Jackson. I have Baker Mayfield in the top 10. Not a lot of people do. When I did my rankings, it shows you what your difference is against the consensus, and I was like more than 10 ranking spaces ahead of the experts. So I see a big week coming from Baker Mayfield.
I love Baker too. I think it's hard to get off of him, really. Has he finished out of the top 12 this year? Maybe once. Maybe once. And he's just been elite. So I'm really high on Baker Mayfield. I think he's almost matchup proof. And the Bucks are playing lights out. So I'm really on him. I think he could be a guy that people talk about being a league winner at the end of this year.
Please let me have a Jalen McMillan breakout week, please. Just please.
Well, the problem is that they're fucking using Sterling Shepard on the outside. He's completely. He surpassed him. How does that happen?
Because McMillan's been hurt, but let's
okay.
Let's light a candle circle for a Jalen McMillan breakout. Okay. I need it.
All right. Well, we're gonna light a candle here for my start of the week, and that's Schultz's dad. He's gonna need it after Dangus has been in town. So let's go with that one, and then my next start of the week is none other than
Schultz. I see you. Stop playing with your dingus.
Yeah, get out of here. Join us at least. Come on, man. We miss you. I'm going to talk about a guy coming out of his bye week, and that's Xavier Worthy. I think he's primed to be a contributor for the Chiefs. Through 5 games, he's already demonstrated his versatility and playmaking ability, leading the team with 4 touchdowns, 2 through the air and 2 on the ground, with 12 receptions, 179 yards, 6 carries for 42 yards. Worthy has made a strong case for a reliable fantasy option. Now, he has been praised by Andy Reid for his adaptability and his quick learning, emphasizing the flexibility he brings to the offense. In week 5 against the Saints, Worthy was heavily involved, playing 67% of the offensive snaps alongside Juju Smith-Schuster. And I think that's going to come in and he's going to increase that. Now, moving forward after the bye, we know that Andy Reid likes to, you know, percolate his wide receivers. And after the bye, I think he's going to really include Xavier Worthy, and I think he's going to be more part of the game plan. And he's going to be a start of the week for me this week. I had Juju as a guy that I thought would be, someone somewhat productive, and then I was really looking at Xavier Worthy, and I'm thinking, I think this is where the Chiefs really need him, and this is going to be a game where he could be very productive.
Well, I feel like that happened after I pointed out that as good a game as Juju Smith-Schuster had in week 5, Xavier Worthy still led the team in first read targets. Or first read looks. So I feel like I'm a part of that equation, and you're welcome. Xavier Worthy is an absolute start for me. Yes, he has an iffy matchup against the San Francisco 49ers, but if there's anybody on this Kansas City Chiefs team that I want to own beyond Travis Kelce, and you know how much of a leap this is for me, Grindberg, it's Xavier Worthy.
There it is. Okay, yeah, it's an interesting situation, and I think that Juju still brings a lot of value to the lineup. I think he's gonna get his 5 to 8 targets a week, and there's going to be some boom games there for him like he had last week or before the bye. But I think they're going to really integrate Xavier Worthy. He is the most talented wide receiver in that lineup now, and they're going to need to use him down the stretch if they plan on three-peating here. So I think that the plan needs to have him involved, and they're going to need to do that right away here. So sit of the week there, Bigz. What is it?
Pop quiz, hot shot. Who is the worst team to start running backs against in fantasy football?
The Minnesota Vikings.
You got it, the Minnesota Vikings. So that's a big fade on Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Who's number 2?
Probably the Detroit Lions.
Nope, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. The Detroit Lions, though, they come in at number 5. So my sit this week is a combo meal, and I like to order a short, please, as far as ultimate cheeseburger, extra pickles, please, large fries, and just chocolate chip. The Minnesota Vikings running backs. How dire is the situation in Minnesota in the running back room? Well, let's look at it. You got Aaron Jones. Big free agent signing. We're gonna utilize him. I said, pump the brakes on Aaron Jones. He's an injury risk. What happened? Aaron Jones got hurt. Ty Chandler, he's everybody's darling. Ty Chandler is supposed to come out and wow everybody. What does he do? He's inefficient. How scary is that situation? The Minnesota Vikings go out and they trade for Cam Akers. Now they're going up against the defense that allows the 5th fewest fantasy points to running backs in the entire NFL. If you have Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, or Cam Akers going up against the Detroit Lions defense, sit them all.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that too. It's a really tough matchup. Let's keep going here. And then my sit of the week is Kyler Murray. He's on the decline, like I mentioned. He's got a tough matchup against the Chargers. I don't foresee there being a whole lot of scoring in this game, and there's a ton of other options I have ahead of Kyler Murray this week. I would be starting, Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy. I'd even be starting Daniel Jones, even though Philly doesn't give up a whole lot of points to quarterbacks. I have him as a start ahead. I'm starting Drake Maye ahead of Kyler Murray. So there's quite a few guys I have ahead of them. I just don't think there's going to be a whole lot of points scored in this game. We know the Chargers play teams tight, and they like to run the clock or manage the clock with their run game and their formidable defense. And I see that happening quite a bit here. So sit Kyler Murray. There's guys you can find on the waiver wire that could easily plug and play there ahead of him.
I have him as quarterback 17. Ahead of him, I have Andy Dalton, Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins, CJ Stroud, Geno Smith, Drake Maye, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Jordan Love, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, and Lamar Jackson.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a tough one, and that's the stage we're at right now. So, and especially if Marvin Harrison misses, like that's even a bigger detriment to Kyler Murray.
You remember when the New Orleans Saints got off to like 90 plus points in their first 2 games?
And it's halftime, and it's the start of the third quarter, and they're at 3. Yeah,
70 points since then.
They blew their load in the first game.
Heyo.
Heyo.
That's some Canadian porn talk there. Oh yeah, blow your load, eh? Look out, eh? I'm gonna blow my load. Is what Dennis Allen probably said.
There it is.
Canadian.
Eh? Yeah, that prolific, Clint Kubiak offensive mind.
What happened?
Guru. Well, Spencer Rattler happened, and that's what happens. Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave. You're pretty banged up right now, and you can't expect much out of that.
Taysom Hill really happened.
Tough, yeah.
I feel like
it
went off the rails once Taysom Hill got hurt.
Yeah, for sure. Right, folks. Dynasty Pulse weekend warm up, week 7 in the wraps here.
In the books.
I think it's in the books, man. We've got a live show headed up right away.
Like it's a mummy.
A mummy.
That's a wrap, you guys.
Yeah. Well, what do we say?
That's a wrap. You said
that's a wrap.
No, I said that's a wrap.
Yeah, I say we hope you win.
Unless you're Jax.
Right?
And I hope you get your ass kicked.
Because it's the Dukes Classic, and Bigz is playing Jax this week. Good luck to y'all.
Hey, maybe if somebody kicks your ass, have them on your show.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're getting on the show.
Or if you beat them, have them on your show.
There you go. All right, man. Have a great weekend, everybody. Weekend warm up, week 8. Tune in next week, and we'll recap our starts and sits, and hopefully we smashed again. Peace.